You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phone. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas.
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, 6th day of February, 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. If you can't see the screen I have up, go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds, and that will give you one-click access to the show each and every day. On the days you're out of the office, away from the desktop, not to worry, just point any internet-connected browser to cfrn.net/live, and there you'll find a live, real-time simulcast of the show as it unfolds. You'll also find us streaming live at youtube.com/CFRN, twitter.com/CFRN, and also on Facebook. Now, I just got a message from Valerie that Michael is possibly not going to be joining us today. He has a tornado warning. Is that still the case?
Yes, they were doing an early dismissal from school, so he's probably heading out about now to pick the kids up from their early dismissal.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll wish them the best. When's the hurricane supposed to hit? Any idea? Is it
No.
coming this afternoon or?
Yeah, they have flooding now, so they're trying to get ahead of it, and that's why they're getting the kids out of school.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, if Michael won't be in to do the recap, then I don't know, unless you wanted to come in and do the recap.
You know what? I didn't mark my charts up with him, but made the goal in 26 minutes, I believe.
Very good. That's a good bingo.
They had a good open house, so there was a lot of teaching going on. Some new faces and great questions. Bert popped in. It was a very beneficial session.
Excellent. All right, guys, we're going to put this on hold for just a second. I'm going to switch gears, and we're going to get John on a little early, and Dr. Tom's coming on today. So we're still going to do the show. So let me put up a little sticky note. Stick around. We'll be right back. Okay. All right. Let's bring up a chart. This is a daily chart. Here's where we popped out of the bottom of this ascending channel. Now, this has been going on for some time. October 3rd. January 31st. Popped out of the channel, came up to kiss the underside of the channel, and popped right back in it. Now this little line right here, that was the 50% mark from the low to the high of the channel. We've now put in a new all-time historic high. That's supposedly it's a 50-50 chance if you're going to go to the top, back to the bottom. It looks like we're headed for the top. I'm going to pull up last night's Concierge Trade Alerts. So if you want to grab a screenshot, feel free to do so. And then we'll walk through those as we wait on John and on Dr. Tom. Okay. We are between the second highest weekly zone, the highest zone, the highest weekly zone for this week is here at 3420/21. Last night's Concierge Trade Alert for the S&P, consider being long, 3350. And we put in a swing high, 33.57 1/4. So let's mark this. The swing high was 57.75, so that's a 7 3/4 point move. $7 points at $50 a point. $350 per contract traded. Now we've got a bearish cross. Prices come down, pull back up to the BBC, and it looks like we're going to consolidate here for a bit. This bearish cross was a heads up that we might be heading back down to test this weekly trading zone. Price caught a bounce, and we're just marking time here for the past hour and a half on the S&P. On the Dow, last night's alert was considered being long, 29,400. And we made it up to 475. Alexa, 75 times 5.
Your device is offline. To
Oh.
connect, swipe down from the top of your screen. Then go to the settings.
I thought we had fixed that. That's about a $400 per contract move. 29,400 up to 29,475. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested, so we get back below the trigger. This time we put in a high at 445. So 40 points at $5 a point. $200 per contract traded. That takes care of the Dow. On the Russell, consider being long, 1691. Swing high, 95.20. So that's 4 points at $50 per point. $200 per contract. On the short side for the Russell, 1672. We haven't gotten there yet, but the Russell seems to be the one that wants to lead to the downside if there's going to be any downside at this point. On the NQ, consider being long, 94.39. So there's 94.39. Swing high is 60. Call it 20 points at $20 a point. It's $400 per contract. The short side for the NQ, 93.73. Put in a low at 62, so that's about a 10-point move. Add $20 a point, $200 per contract traded. Moving on to crude. Last night's alert for crude. Consider being short 50.40. Right here, it's a $200 per contract move. And on the long side, $52.30, and we never quite made it to $52.30. That leaves gold. Consider being long, 15.65. And this initial swing high is at 69.30. That's a $400 per contract move. And we've not come back to retest that as of yet. So we're at all new all-time historic highs. There's the S&P. There's the Dow. The Russell. The NQ. Crude. And gold. Alright, I'm going to put you on pause for 1 second. I'll be right back. See if I can round up John. Get him in here ahead of Dr. Tom. Stand by.
Great. Winter is really nice. A very cozy season. What is your favorite season? Sorry about that. I didn't hear anything.
Alrighty. We're back. Dr. Tom is joining us as I speak. He's able to come on a little bit early today since Michael's not with us. There he is. Hey, Dr. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Dwayne. Good to talk with you.
Good to have you with us. So,
Okay.
what's happened since we last spoke? We had a State of the Union. We had an impeachment decision, or acquittal, as they call it. Any thoughts you want to share on either of those? And I'll send you over the charts at the same time.
Acquittal, exoneration, and what's the other word? Not guilty of all charges. Of course, but very happy and gratified to see the results. It was what we were all expecting, but it's still a great thing. Give me just a second. I need to plug something in.
Yeah, you know, it's just a shame all the time and money that was wasted that could have been spent doing something productive, arriving at a decision that I mean, it seems like everyone knew that was going to be the decision before it ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, just think if all that money had gone to help support your orphanage in Africa.
Right. Exactly.
You know, total waste. Okay, let me show you my screen. To get my PowerPoint up. There we go. And can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Okay.
I think you still have to hit the accept button somewhere.
Yeah, that's probably good. How about now?
I got it now.
Okay, great. Well, as far as the impeachment, I mean, like I say, this is what we were expecting, and I was really kind of expecting this too. But it was a big disappointment to see old Rhino Romney vote for guilty on the first count, and
He must plan on never running for office again.
Yeah. I heard Laura Ingraham last night say she's going to move to Utah and establish residency and run against him next time.
I heard that. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, there's a lot of parallels between him and John McCain. John McCain ran for president. He didn't win, and he was bitter against Trump. because he did win. And as he was dying, he drove all the way from Arizona out to Washington to cast a vote to keep Obamacare, just because he hated the president so much. And another guy who ran for president but couldn't get elected and is jealous of Trump because he did get elected is Mitt Romney. It wasn't so bad that he voted. It's the first time ever in history that any senator voted against their own party in an impeachment proceeding. It's never happened before. But it's the fact that he tried to hide behind religion. He says, well, my Mormon faith made me vote for guilty. Well, he also voted to say there wasn't enough evidence, so he wanted witnesses in the trial. So if there wasn't enough information there that they got from the House, 20,000 pages of evidence and so on, for him to feel like he needed to have more information, then where did he get all the information suddenly that made it okay for him to vote guilty? It just...
Good question.
Yeah, it really burns me up. But, he's not an honorable person. President Trump campaigned for him, endorsed him for senator. And then as soon as he got in Washington, the day after he was sworn in, he published a guest editorial. I think it was the Washington Times, just trashing and attacking the president. So no loyalty whatsoever. I mean, Trump helped him become a senator, and then he does this. And if you think about it, he did it the day after he got there. It was a long editorial. So he probably had written it weeks before. He just wanted to wait till he got sworn in and was officially a senator before he published it. But that's just being a real weenie as far as I'm concerned.
It is. Yeah, it is.
The expression. That's the worst curse word I use, weenie. But anyway, Nancy Pelosi says, well, he may get acquitted, but he will still be impeached forever. So I don't know if you saw my article, but I wrote, yeah, he may be impeached forever, but he's going to be exonerated forever, and no one's going to remember what it was all about. It's like people that are accused by a grand jury, if they're found guilty, they don't go around saying, oh, this guy was had an indictment against him by a grand jury. It's gone. And the impeachment's gone. He'll have his place in history as another president that got impeached that was found not guilty. They've never, ever impeached, found any president guilty and removed him from office. But what people will remember is the fantastic things that he's done for the country. And so basically all they've done is play into his hands. His approval ratings have gone up by over 10% since they started impeachment. And Congress's approval rating is dropping like a rock. And it was already in the toilet. I think they're like 12% approval rating, something like that.
Well, Bill Clinton, his approval rating went up after his impeachment.
Yeah, because they thought he was being bullied. In his case, he actually was guilty.
Yeah, he actually was, right.
The Bar Association, there was enough proof for them that he lied under oath that they took his license to practice law away. But what did you think about the Wicked Witch of the West tearing up his speech?
That was so over the top. I mean, she was just sitting there seething the whole time. And I watched the replay a number of times from, I guess, a couple different angles as to whether or not he saw her try to shake his hand and he shunned her or he didn't see her. And I think it's very legitimate that he didn't see her hand. What do you think?
I don't think he did. And he didn't shake Pence's hand. So if he wanted to snub her, he would have shaken Vice President Pence's hand and then shaken her hand. but he was in a hurry to get going. He handed the speech, he turned around, and he started. But frankly, if he had snubbed her, I think it would have been justified, because you know how they're supposed to introduce the president. This has been for hundreds of years.
Yes, right.
It is, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and great privilege to introduce to you the president of the United States of America. You know, all she said is, "Here's the president." You know, that was the snub right there.
It was. Yeah, no, she set the ball. If there was going to be any snubbing, she set the ball in motion. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if he did refuse to shake her hand, I think he'd be perfectly justified, particularly after what she did last year at the State of the Union. That mocking hand clap, you know, sticking her hands out in his face and, you know, doing a little, like a mouth opening, closing thing, and, and not really clapping, and with a really wicked smirk on her face. I mean, the whole nation saw that. She was not honoring, you know, forget about it, she doesn't like him. She should honor the office of the presidency. And so she was snubbing left and right. But the tearing up thing, there was a lot of controversy about whether she was just all hysterical and upset and mad, and so she just started tearing up the speech. No, she planned the whole thing. There's photos that showed them on Fox News today, and they put a little red circle around it. You know, all that shuffling of the paper she was doing with that really ugly look on her face?
Right, right.
Her teeth clenched and her eyes bugging out, and she's shuffling papers. What in the world is this woman doing? Just making it look like she's doing something? No. She had actually taken the speech and separated it into 4 stacks, and then she made a little tear in each one while the president was speaking, because they got some camera angles on her. I guess she didn't know they got. They were from up high, and you could see the little start of a tear, right? Which makes it easier if it's just to actually tear it up when she wanted to.
Yeah, that would have been real embarrassing if she started to try to rip one of them and she couldn't tear it. You know, like the strong man with the phone book.
Exactly. So that's what she did. She separated the 4 stacks. She started the tear, made sure she could do it, and Fox had the picture of them, put a red circle around each one of them, and you can see it clear as day. So this was pre-planned, and you know, if she was just upset, she could have sat in her chair and torn it up and dropped it on the floor. But no, she stood up and held it out and up front of her and up high, so everybody can see what she's doing. It goes rip, puts it down, takes another one, holds it up, big ugly smirk on her face, rip. And I hope they do refer her to the Justice Department, because she committed a felony, destruction of government property. Okay.
There's some discussion over that's really. I agree with you, and I agree that she did, but there's some trying to say that, you know, it wasn't really government property, but you know, no, that wasn't just some mimeograph they ran off in a back room. It was signed by the President of the United States.
Right, and it was on that heavy parchment paper. You saw how big it was. But Steny Hoyer was defending her. Of course, he would. He's her second command in the House. And he was saying, "Oh, that wasn't destruction of government. That was freedom of speech. You know, if I tear up something I disagree with, that's freedom of speech." Well, if a cop gives you a ticket and you tear it up in front of him, guess what? You get arrested.
You get another ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can legally take you in, you know, and actually put you in custody for doing that. So, if nothing else, after all the way she's harassed him, I think it'd be great if the Justice Department at least scared her by opening an investigation into her destruction of government property, because that speech was supposed to go into the archives of the House. So. Anyway, it just, you know, he did what I wanted him to do, and that is he didn't mention impeachment once. Thank the Lord, you know, because I didn't want to see him up there seeming to be gloating, you know. So he just ignored the whole thing. He was the bigger man, and she showed herself to be a really small, bitter woman. And I'm going to prophesy right now. After the next election, Nancy Pelosi will not be the Speaker of the House. He can write that down and challenge me on it after the next election. Okay, if I'm not right. You think I'm crazy?
I don't.
Well, thank you, Victoria.
What was the question?
I asked it, do you think I'm crazy to say that she will not be the Speaker after the next election?
I don't think she will. Well, I've heard that she's lost total control of the House. That this AOC and the other hoodlums, they pretty much run the place now.
Yeah. Well, AOC, her first day after she was sworn in, she goes to Nancy Pelosi's office and conducts a sit-in. How stupid! Her and a bunch of junior representatives. But there's 3 ways that Nancy could be displaced, and one of these is going to happen. Number 1, and it's the way I hope it happens, the Republicans retake the House, and therefore she won't be the Speaker. She might be the minority leader, but if that happens, they'll probably even take that job away from her. The second is, if they keep the House, they will remove her as Speaker and put someone else in there, because nobody in the Democratic caucus is happy with her. And the best way, and this is what I'm praying happens, is that the people of San Francisco finally stop taking drugs long enough to realize how horrible she's been. She has never represented them. She thinks of herself as representing the whole United States. She's done nothing for San Francisco. And if they were to rebuke her by not re-electing her, that would be the icing on the cake. So, one of those 3 ways, she will not be Speaker.
Do you think she'll run again?
Well, a lot depends on what happens, between now and the election. But she's shown no indication of not running. She thinks that that's her right to be the Speaker of the House. And I heard her yesterday talk about how she's a master strategist tonight and a master politician. She's just so full of herself. I think she probably would run again. I really do, because nobody even really opposes her anymore when she runs. So we'll see. We'll see. But politics has been really interesting this week. And I just love the way the president just ignored the whole thing and kept on doing the nation's business. And what did you think about all the, the master showmanship last night in his State of the Union?
It was.
Hey, I'm here now.
Oh, hey, Michael.
Hey, I just got a couple of minutes because I have an appointment at the VA.
Okay.
I have to go to.
Well, Dr. Tom's already on, and then John's going to
Yep.
come on right after Dr. Tom. So if you want to do your recap, if you want to add it in.
Yeah, let me do it. I'll do it really quick. Or you want me to do it tomorrow? I can do it tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, if that works, we'll just do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Be
fine.
right?
That's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. Hey, Dr. Tom.
Hey, how you doing, brother? Tell everybody down at the VA I said hi, and I appreciate the service.
I will.
So you got
And
bad
yours.
weather. You got bad weather coming your way, huh?
Oh, we got bad weather here.
It's already
It's
there.
been. Oh yeah. We drove around because the bridges are about to be taken out by all the rivers and the creeks and stuff. And
Wow.
So yeah, it's a mess right now, and it's all the way down to Louisiana. It's coming straight at us all the way from Louisiana. So it's going to be coming for a long time. And yeah, when we had thunder and lightning and everything all during the morning session, my lights were flickering, and I thought we were going to lose power, but we didn't, fortunately. But
Well, we'll all pray for you, brother.
well, thanks, I appreciate that. All right, well then I'll just do my part tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll do a double part tomorrow.
Okay. All right. That sounds
All right.
good. Thanks,
Okay.
Michael. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Well, I loved the way he honored Rush Limbaugh, and all the CNN and NBC types said, "Oh, Rush was pretending to be surprised." Rush was surprised. If anybody knows how to read body language and faces, you looked at me, he was just dumbfounded.
Yeah, he didn't know he obviously he knew he was invited to be there, but he didn't know about the award.
Yeah, and I thought it was. I mean, normally those are given out in a ceremony at the White House, but how much more impactful was it? I believe he's the only person ever to receive the Medal of Honor officially at a State of the Union address.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think so.
And he had tears in his eyes. This guy was not faking it. And you got to see Melania actually put it on his neck, because I went back, I backed it up, and he was sitting there just in a suit, and then in a later shot there he is with a thing. So because the president said later you're going to be receiving the Medal of Honor, and so I'm thinking, okay, maybe tomorrow at the White House, but no, she put it on him, and then the next shot there he is with the Medal of Honor. And I mean, it couldn't happen to a more deserving guy. This guy has done so much for the cause of freedom in this country. A lot of people who've gotten the Medal of Freedom. I said Medal of Honor. That's for military. The Medal of Freedom is the highest civilian honor. A lot of the people have done nothing to deserve it. Like poets and stuff like that. Goodness gracious, what do they do to advance freedom? I mean, this guy, he has really, really advanced the conservative cause, not Republican, but the conservative cause, and has made a huge, huge difference in this country, and made people realize that we can be free again. We don't have to be under the thumb of government for the rest of our born days. So,
and there's so many people that I would not be popular radio talk show host today had it not been for him pioneering the way.
Yeah, he paved the way. It's funny because the left has tried and tried and tried to do talk radio. And can you name me one well-known leftist talk radio host?
Not one.
There's not a single one.
Maybe George Norrie, Coast to Coast, but that, it plays from midnight to 6 a.m., I think.
Yeah. But it's like the conservatives, because of Rush, own talk radio. And
they really do. They really do.
That's really important, because the liberals own the media, the print media, even magazines, except for, specific things like Heritage and whatever. But in general, they own the print media. And in general, they own the broadcast media as far as television, except for Fox News. But the one place where the conservatives rule is talk radio, and so it was a well-deserved honor, and I'm praying, and a lot of people I know are praying that he will beat this lung cancer. He said advanced lung cancer, so that means stage 4, and that could mean a very short time to live, but I'm praying that he's going to be completely healed.
When my dad was diagnosed with stage 4, unfortunately, in less than a week he was gone. But other people have lived years with stage 4.
Yeah. Well, they've come up with a whole lot of new treatments and drugs and things like that, and so, let's just pray that he beats the odds. The other thing that was interesting about State of the Union, Nancy tried her old trick from last year, having all the Democrats, women wear white, in protest.
Right.
And, you don't drag out the same old tired horse 2 years in a row. It didn't work last year. Why in the world she did it again this year? It just made it more obvious that they were sitting when they should have been standing, because Nancy didn't even stand with that little black girl who had nothing, was given a scholarship so she'll be able to go to college. and one of the last Black Tuskegee Airmen was promoted to general. She didn't even stand for that. She didn't stand for this sergeant who was deployed 4 times to Iraq, and that was a real moving moment. The wife and his 2 kids were there. They had no idea, and all of a sudden, there he comes down the stairs.
Yep.
And I mean, she just showed her lack of patriotism by, I think the only time she stood was for things like, well, al-Baghdadi's dead. If she hadn't stood up for that, then everybody would have trashed her. She had to stand for that because he's one of the world's worst terrorists.
Well, as Wayne in the audience said, even her white coat couldn't hide her dark heart.
You're exactly right. Thank you, Wayne. I think her heart is black, and probably the blood that pumps around is black as well. And the comments that some of these liberal commentators made, it was just insane. One of the guys said, well, I was there in the room, and the whole speech was dark and bizarre, and it's like, what was bizarre and what was dark? I mean, it was very much an uplifting speech.
It was.
Very forward-looking. I mean, and I came away inspired.
Absolutely.
It was probably, I say probably, it was without doubt the best speech he's ever given, and probably one of the best State of the Union speeches ever given. Because I watch every one of them. My wife won't do it. She said, I don't want to watch one. But I'm glued to it. I watch every single one, Democrat or Republican. When Obama gave his State of the Unions, I had to take some anti-nausea medication before it started. So I wouldn't have to be running to the bathroom. But I'm really interested in what's happening in our country and in the people that are controlling it. So I watch them all, and I've never seen a better State of the Union. So anyway, it was powerful. It was uplifting. It was encouraging to the country. And this guy calls it dark and bizarre, So he's the bizarre one.
Yeah. Yep. And they've made comments that comments they made where it's still not over.
Oh yeah, Jerry Nadler. He's there's going to be impeachment 2.0 and 3.0. There's no statute of limitations or there's no double jeopardy to impeachment. They could impeach him every month for his second term, and it's just like a dog biting at your ankles. He's trying to get work done, and they're just harassing him. But
and he's managed to accomplish all of this amidst all the harassment.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what he's accomplished hasn't been put out in the public just because all the focus has been on the impeachment and all these investigations. I don't think they're going to try and impeach him again before the election, although they might. If they see that's the only way that they think they can hurt him, they may try to prefer more fake articles of impeachment against him. But I'm almost certain that if we don't take back the House, that he will be impeached 1 or more times in his second term. So that's why it's so important. Even if you're not a Republican, even if you're not conservative, if you just care about the country and you don't want to see it torn apart with all this impeachment garbage based on nothing, then vote for Republicans in the House, because that race is just as important as the presidential race.
And we've seen that. Yeah. If this last midterm had come out differently, we wouldn't have had to go through all this.
Yeah.
So those people that swung their vote and put the Democrats back in charge of the House in this last midterm, I say a lot of the blame for all of this falls on them.
Well, here's a horror scenario for you, Dwayne. They keep the House, and they swing 4 seats in the Senate. Within a month after the election, if Trump is reelected, which he will be, within a month, he will be impeached and removed from office if they have control of the House. And well, actually, no, they'd have to swing more than 3 or 4 seats. But if they got a significant number of seats in the Senate, then they could actually impeach and remove him. I don't see any possibility of that happening, even of them, taking the Senate back. But there is a possibility they could keep the House. I think they've, as they say in the South, they've shown their butt here so much that they're probably going to lose the House. The Democrats are embarrassed and not energized. So I think you're going to see a very low Democrat voter turnout. And whoever the sacrificial lamb is they put up against Trump, I actually feel sorry for them because they will be crushed.
Well, the software that failed in Iowa, that was created by 2 guys from Hillary's last campaign. Two of her IT guys formed a company called Shadow, and that was the app they were using for the Iowa caucus that, well, it didn't work, or perhaps it worked exactly like it was supposed to work because it stole everybody's thunder. And here's Joe Biden in 4th place. So they stuck it to Bernie the last time. Looks like this time they may be wanting to stick it to Bernie and Biden. But then they look around and go, oh, but wait a minute, then we don't have anybody left.
Well, you've got...
Has there ever been in history an unopposed presidential election?
No.
Okay.
Except George Washington. No one ran against George Washington. But that was before we had 2 parties and all that. George Washington wasn't a member of any political party, but he was elected twice unopposed. But since then, no. But I mean, think about it. Biden, who they've all been saying, well, he'll be the eventual nominee and so on. He comes out with one wing broken from Iowa. And then Bernie's very strong in New Hampshire because he's from the Northeast. He's probably going to walk away with that in a landslide. So if Biden fails miserably in both of these 2 key states, he may hang in there for a while, but I think he'll be permanently damaged. So what are the alternatives? Bloomberg, in his first week, spent more money in 1 week than all the other Democrat candidates put together in their entire campaigns. And after the Iowa debacle, he said he's going to double his spending. So he'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars. And he may very well...
I think he committed to spending a total of $1 billion before it's over.
Yeah, and he can afford it.
He can.
Yeah. That'd be like you or me spending $1,000.
Yeah.
So he could buy the Democrat nomination just by, flooding the airwaves. But the guy has the personality of a goldfish. Yeah. So, I mean, I just don't see any scenario that he wouldn't walk off the debate stage in tears if he went up against Trump. So what could happen? Well, you could have a brokered convention. They could put Hillary up, if they think she's their last great hope. They could put John Kerry up. That's a possibility. He's been going around campaigning for what's his name, for Bernie, which is kind of ludicrous because their politics are so far apart. but I think he just wants to get on the national stage. And, you know, he came close running before. So maybe they'll throw him up there. But I have a feeling that none of the current slate is going to be the Democrat nominee. I could be wrong. I was wrong once before. I remember it's back in 1997 in the summertime. I was wrong.
Well, yeah, I got it wrong once in the 70s. So
you did?
Mm-hmm.
That was when you were about like 4 years old or something.
I wish. Tim asked from the audience, how did you like the Democrats' rebuttal?
Oh, talk about a sacrificial lamb. You know, the poor lady, I felt really sorry for her. She's only got a few hundred people there to talk to. And she basically said nothing. What did you think about it? I mean, I actually watched. I'm probably one of only about 10 or 12 Americans that watched the Democrat rebuttal. But what did you think?
You and Tim did. I didn't watch it, no.
Well, ask Tim what he thought about it.
What'd you think, Tim? I can open your mic if you want to share. Just type into the chat box, open my mic. Yeah, he summed it up in 3 letters, sad.
Sad. Okay. Well, how would you like to talk about our subject for the day?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. This is called, as you can see, the last half hour, the only collectible commodity. And it seems like an oxymoron. That's, you know, something like jumbo shrimp or French war hero or something, you know.
Yeah, right, got it.
But collectibles and commodities are the opposite of one another. Well, let's look at it. It's kind of interesting because there is a collectible commodity. Here's just an idea of what a commodity is. I just threw this up. This is a really ancient coin. It was produced between 613 and 641 AD. And as you can see, it's a handmade coin from the first Christian empire, the Byzantine Empire under Constantine. So, beautiful coin, very interesting. That's a collectible coin, okay? But what is a commodity? Why don't you take this one, Dwayne, since you're a commodity trader. Tell everybody what a commodity is.
Basically, a commodity is something that gets used up. Crude oil, pork bellies, cotton, corn, wheat.
Wait a second there. Pork bellies. I keep hearing about pork bellies. Now, I know what a beer belly is. What in the heck is a pork belly? Please, somebody tell me.
Well, you can buy live cattle as a commodity, but I'm assuming if they sell you a pork belly, that pig's no longer alive. So
they cut his belly off, and then what do they do with it?
It gets processed and sold out by the pound on some kind of a contract.
So they make it into hams or those beautiful baby back ribs and that kind of thing.
I've never traded. I've traded crude. I've traded gold. I've never really traded the ag products. A little bit here and there, soybeans, corn, wheat, on a few occasions. But primarily, I stick with the indices and crude.
Okay.
Yeah, those are kind of my mainstay.
So the bottom line is that commodities are something that there's a lot of, right? So the opposite of that, a collectible, is something that there's very few of, like a Ming Dynasty vase or
and a commodity is a renewable resource.
That's true. And most collectibles, you can't make any more of them.
Right.
That's it.
That would kind of make them not a. That would make them not be the thing that defines them, that being a collectible. Right. Yeah.
Right. So things like porcelain, famous painters, Thomas Kincaid, Renoir, Picasso, furniture by famous people or famous eras like a Louis XV desk or armoire, all those types of things. Bronze statues from the Paleolithic era, usually old and rare, but in order for them to be collectible, they had to be in excellent condition. Now, here's a little interesting factoid. During the Great Depression, what do you think the only asset class that went up was? It's an easy one.
So I'm going to ask that question again.
What is the only asset class that rose? All other asset classes fell during the Great Depression.
I'll go with gold.
Yeah. Collectibles in general, but specifically coin collectibles. Because coin collectibles have a feature to them that other types of collectibles don't. Let's say there's a really bad crash or a hyperinflation, and people are thrown out of jobs, government's not functioning, and there's roving gangs of guys with guns. You might want to get out of town if you live in a big city, because it'll be pretty dangerous. Plus, the average city in the United States only has 3 days supply of food. So if you like to eat, you might want to get out of the big city. So try to put a Louis XV desk in the trunk of your car, or a Monet in the back seat. Pretty tough. I could put my net worth in my pockets in collectible coins. So they're portable, and they've been used this way for years. I mean, when the Jews were trying to escape Hitler, before he actually started rounding them and killing them, a lot of them were smart enough to know what was coming. They were sewing rare gold coins into their hems of their clothing, and so it wouldn't get detected at the checkpoints that they had to pass through. So they smuggled rare gold coins in. This has been going on forever. If I want to go to another country, for whatever reason, for safety or whatever, I could carry rare gold coins, and it never ever. I mean, I've carried millions of dollars worth of coins through the checkpoints of the two toughest countries in the world, which are Great Britain and the U.S. Never had a problem. So that's one of the big advantages.
Do you declare them coming through?
No, it's nothing to declare. They're, if you collect baseball cards, you declare them when you come through, regardless of their value. The only thing that you have to declare
so this doesn't
is
fall
money.
under. Yeah, okay. So this isn't considered money for that. In that
No.
instance, okay.
They were money at one point. Any collectible coin that's worth the salt is going to be something that was designed to be used as money, but it's not now. And so, I've had no problem whatsoever. A couple times they got picked up on their little X-rays, and I asked for a private screening, and I just tell them these are coins that I collect. Oh, they're pretty, aren't they? I said, yeah, I think so. And that's pretty much it. They never asked what their value is. And if I did tell them it's $500,000 or $10,000 or whatever, they have no reason to say anything about it, because it's not monetary. So if you have bearer bonds, cash, stuff like that, then you have to declare it if it's over $10,000. So that's what a collectible is. Now, here's some differences. Commodities are regulated. You see the little word cloud there: oppression, excessive overregulation, government, big brother, lack of privacy, and so on. Lots of red tape. Any commodity is regulated. The government knows every single trade you make, Dwayne. No way around it. Collectibles are not regulated. So freedom, prosperity, pursuit of happiness, self-determination and joy. This is, I love the fact that they're not regulated, because I get so tired of filling out forms for the government. There's no paperwork required. Okay. So here's the benefits of not being regulated. One is you don't have to register your ownership. Dwayne, you live there in Phoenix. Some guy comes to your house and he trips on your front stoop. That's what we call it in the South. What do you call it out there? It's called a stoop.
A stoop?
The front stoop, like the little concrete step there in front of your front door.
I think that's more like a New York, Brooklyn, Bronx kind of a thing. A stoop.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think down south it's just a front porch.
Well, that's true, come to think of it. But I've heard, So anyway, somebody trips over your front porch and hurts themselves. Well, you didn't push them, and your front porch was approved by the building department, so it's not dangerous. But anybody can sue anybody, anytime, for anything. Every lawyer I've ever met has told me that. And it's true. I've seen people sue over the most ridiculous things. So what's his lawyer's first move? He's going to try to find out how much you're worth. Now, there's a lot of your net worth that's public, like property that you own, stocks and bonds. That's easy information, and a good teenage hacker can find out the rest of it. There's practically nothing private as far as investments left in the world today. But collectibles are not registered with anybody. Even gold bullion, which is the next best thing to a collectible as far as an investment, even it has to be registered. If you buy more than $10,000 at a time, it has to be reported to the government. But you could buy a $50,000 coin or a $10,000 coin or $1 million coin, and no one can require. Now, Obama tried to make it a requirement. He tried to sneak it into his infamous Obamacare bill that if you bought or sold $600 or more of any precious metal, so gold, silver, platinum, anything, that it had to be reported to the government on both the buy and the sell side. But even his own party turned against him on that, because the wealthiest people in the world own gold. They know the value of it. They know the value of privacy of ownership. So that's the next thing, confidentiality of ownership. Even Sherlock Holmes can't find out how much gold I own. If somebody tripped on my front stoop and the lawyer checked me out and had the best hackers working for him, I look like I'm worth a whole lot less than I really am, because most of my net worth is in gold. So he would tell the guy, well, go trip on somebody else's stoop, because this guy's not going to do you any good, So confidentiality, that's really important. Now, here's one of the best ones. The ability to transfer ownership without record. Dwayne, if you had a rare gold coin and you wanted to sell it because you wanted to buy a better one or whatever, and you offered it to me, we could exchange that and exchange funds to make that transaction happen, and never put it on record anywhere. This is the only asset class that has this attribute. It cannot be overemphasized. No possibility of government confiscation. I was out in Dallas speaking for the International Christian Wealth Builders Foundation, and I was talking about investing in investment grade gold, not bullion, but the investment grade gold that actually really is an investment that makes you a real profit, that increases your purchasing power. And then I threw it open for questions. And the first question, a little lady in the back asked, well, how do you keep the government from confiscating your gold? And my answer was kind of cryptic. I said, same way you keep them from confiscating your guns. Well, she looked confused, and everybody's looking at me quizzically in the room. And then finally one guy got it, and he starts chuckling. Pretty soon the whole room's laughing. The government's not going to confiscate my guns because I buy my guns privately. I know you're listening in, NSA, but sorry about that. It's not illegal in Florida. So I can buy and sell a gun privately between me and another individual, and there's no record. It's only if I go to like a gun show or buy from a gun shop that it has to be recorded. So I have exactly 2 weapons. I won't tell you how many I've got total, but I have exactly 2 of that number that are registered. One was my duty weapon when I was a deputy sheriff. Well, obviously that had to be registered. Another is I wanted to get my daughter a target pistol, 22, and I couldn't find what I wanted any place except at a gun show, so I got her a Beretta there, so that's registered. By the way, funny story. You talked to Greg, our gold buyer before, right?
Right.
Well, he was raised in New Jersey, and I don't know how many of your listeners are from New Jersey, but if anybody is, or New York or anywhere around that area, you know the attitude towards guns up in the Northeast is way different than it is in the Midwest or in the South, right?
Very much so.
So I'm on the phone talking to Greg over in Europe one day, and he was raised that, you know, only crooks have guns and nice people don't have guns. And his father was a pastor and everything, you know. So he said, well, what'd you do this week? I said, well, I went to the gun show and bought Sarah her first gun. He said, you did what? And I'm messing with him. I said, well, yeah, I know you're right. I should have gotten her for her when she's 12. That's the usual age that you get a kid their first gun, because that's when they can be responsible with it. But we've been busy, so I got her for her 13th birthday. He says, no, I mean, why did you get her a gun? I said, Greg, she's 13 years old. She's pretty. Boys are starting to sniff around. I mean, she needs to have a gun, right? He's sputtering. But she can't use it. I said, of course. If a boy gets fresh with her, she can shoot him, and I got plenty of acreage here. I can bury him, and no one will ever know. And he's like silent for about 60 seconds, and I'm just chuckling because he thinks I'm really serious about all this. And so finally I let him off the hook, and I said, no, it's just a target pistol. And she's not going to shoot any boys. Don't worry about it. But I mean, it's just, there's a dramatic difference in the attitudes towards self-protection and the Second Amendment between the North and the South. And it's pretty strong. So anyway, that's a rabbit trail. What I was telling these people out in Dallas at this convention is I buy my guns privately, therefore the government can't confiscate them. And I buy my gold privately. It's not reported anyway. So how can they confiscate something if they don't know you've got it? Believe me, the government is not going to send people in to millions and millions and millions of homes in the United States with metal detectors and try and find your gold, okay? It's just not going to happen. So there's no way the government can confiscate your gold unless you buy bullion and register it or have it in your IRA. I don't recommend keeping gold in an IRA personally. Okay. How did screen sharing get paused? Do you still see my screen?
I do. I see no possibility of government confiscation.
Okay, well, let me get back down there because for some reason my screen share went off. So let me get back to that and go full screen. And here we are. Okay. So even if we got another FDR in office and he decided to confiscate 40% of the wealth in the country like FDR did, it can't happen. Okay. Another nice thing about it is you can dominate the marketplace without restriction. There are rules about companies, owning more than a certain percentage of a stock company and basically controlling the market, setting the bid and the ask on most securities. But for collectibles, there is no such thing. So there's a company out in Dallas called Heritage, they dominate the market in $20 gold coins. Basically, they own more of them and sell more of them than anybody in the world. And so they set the bid and the ask, and they make millions of dollars a month. So free enterprise at work rather than the government, controlling everything. So what are the benefits of being regulated? Kind of hard to think of anything right offhand, right? I mean, government regulation has traditionally been very bad for any kind of free market. But one benefit is this. There's a true two-way marketplace, okay? So on particularly U.S. coins, the more popular ones like the $20 and the $10 gold coins, the old ones pre-1933, there's a bid and ask on them. And so if you're a trader, that's a handy thing. There's obviously not going to be a bid and ask for a Persian rug or a Picasso or anything like that. But commodities have advantages, no question. But they also have disadvantages. And it's the same with collectibles. The advantage is the two-way market that I mentioned. That's very handy if you're a trader. You'll be able to just look on the computer and know exactly what the bid and the ask are. The disadvantage is that everybody knows everything you have. When you die, your will becomes public, and there's even more disclosure. So there's very little privacy when you're buying regulated assets. Collectibles have their advantages and disadvantages too, as I said. The advantage, the biggest one, is confidentiality of ownership. I mean, I value my privacy. I don't know about anybody else, but people say, well, I don't have anything to hide. Why do I need privacy? Well, if you've seen what governments have done to people for thousands of years, coming in and just taking their stuff, our own government stole 40% of the wealth of the nation, the private wealth. I'm not talking about the public wealth. They took 549 metric tons of gold away from American citizens and had to build Fort Knox to put it there because there was no place big enough and safe enough to hide it. They had to build an army base around this big hole in the ground in the vault that they built to store all this gold. In other countries like Cyprus, we've talked about that. Cyprus got in real financial problems. They just went in and took 50% of everybody's bank accounts. Money that they'd already paid taxes on, money that was for their retirement, and all of a sudden the retirement is cut in half. And what was the government's excuse? Well, we needed it. Well, governments can always find places to spend money. And for, like I said, for thousands of years, it's not just a modern event. Governments, if they know what you've got, they can and will. I mean, there's a lot of people that believe that the government is going to confiscate all the IRAs in the country. That's another reason why I tell people don't keep your gold in an IRA. Another advantage is steadily rising value for collectible coins in particular. All collectibles have gone up in the last 100 years, but there have been some up and some down years, mostly up. With high quality, high rarity, rare coins, in the last 100 years in United States and in England, there hasn't been one down year in 100 years. No other asset class can make that claim. The disadvantage to collectibles is there's no two-way market. You're not going to find a bid and ask on Picassos or Ming vases, except for coins. Okay, there is a real solid two-way market, and guess when it started? It was back in 1600 in London. That was where the first rare coin market formal. I mean, there's always people prior to that trading coins with each other and so on, but this is when there was first an actual rare coin marketplace. So what if you could combine the best of both, the best of advantages of a commodity and the best advantages of a collectible? Then you'd have a collectible commodity. Well, that's what investment grade coins are. Rare coins are the only collectible commodity. So as far as an investment, they're the ultimate. Now, I know most of the people on this program are traders. So chances are you don't do a whole lot of long-term investing. But as a person who is very experienced, 45 years of both trading and investing, most people tend to be one or the other. I think the smartest people are like you and I went, Dwayne. We trade and we make money on that, but then we take some of that money off the table and we invest it in something safe. Don't you do that? I guess he's muted there. But anyway, that's what the people who are most successful with investing do, is they make their money in short-term things, and then they don't take all the money out, but they take some of the profits off and put them in something that they can just sit on and let them marinate, so to speak, and keep rising in value. Because there's not much of anything I know of that you can trade that if things went really horribly bad, you couldn't lose either most or all of your money. So it always helps to have something put back that's very safe. So I think everybody needs to learn more about this if you're not already well versed in it. And so we have this gold education package. It's got some great reports, articles, and videos, and it's free. If you just go to CFRNgold.com, it's on the screen there, CFRNgold.com. Not only will you be helping yourself by learning more about this, but you're helping Christian Financial Radio Network by helping keep them on the air. My direct telephone number, a lot of people do this, but I give my own direct telephone number. It's right there on the screen, 561-753-5998. And along with that, you'll get an invitation to webinars that we do every Monday night, the Christian Financial Concepts webinars. And it's just a wealth of information. We have over 500 hours of archived Christian financial information on the website. And we have some of the best teachers, the top people, best-selling authors, lecturers, in-demand speakers that teach on Monday nights. So definitely want to invite you to join with us in those. So are there any questions, brother? Dwayne? Okay. You're all right, Dwayne?
Yeah, I had a technical glitch here. I think it just came back.
Oh, I heard some heavy breathing on the line there. I didn't know if somebody had
I don't know if that was John trying to come in, or it looks like John did show up.
Okay. All right. So, are there any questions there for me?
In the chat box. Tim asked, registered or just had to get a background check?
Is that about guns, Tim? Was a question about guns, purchasing guns?
Was that a gun question, Tim? Regarding the 9mm.
Okay. Every state has a little different laws. Here in Florida, to buy a coin, or to buy a gun from a gun dealer, either at a coin show or at a gun shop, without having to wait for 3 days, I had to get a concealed weapon permit. And with that, I could just go and show that and fill a little form, and the gun is registered. But I don't have to wait 3 days to get it. I'm already considered a trusted person. So, hope that answers your question. By the way, speaking about trusted stuff, I have this trusted traveler card, global entry. At first, I was just going to get the one for airlines in the United States, so that I didn't have to go through security and everything. And then I found it for $15 more. I could get the global one, said the trusted traveler and the global entry. So when I come back from other countries, I just zip through, go to a little kiosk, run my card, and boom, I'm through. And other people are waiting 2-3 hours in line sometimes. So well spent $100. Well, New York State, the home of Michael Stinking Bloomberg, just passed a green light law, and they allow for undocumented citizens. Okay, excuse me. If you're undocumented, you're not a citizen, right?
Right.
Illegal aliens, in other words, but they call them undocumented citizens. Somehow once they illegally cross the border, they magically become citizens in the minds of these New Yorkers. So they're allowed to get driver's licenses, and most of them have no documentation whatsoever, but they'll still give them a driver's license. So the TSA and Homeland Security has pulled the trusted traveler status of every New York citizen, every citizen of New York State, because they don't have any way of checking their background. Part of the law is that they will not share information on criminal backgrounds with the government. So if somebody's a potential terrorist or whatever, they have no way of checking the background. So they're just not going to allow anybody from New York to get the trusted traveler or the global entry. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, they think they're sticking their thumb in the eye of the government, but actually the government can stick right back. And I thought it was very smart on the part of not just Homeland Security, but Trump. I'm sure he made the decision on that. So
Tim asked, do you have to give a social security number?
to do what?
To register a gun, I'm guessing.
That I don't know.
Just seems like you wouldn't want to be tied to specific weapon serial number, etc.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they asked my social security number. It's basically, they've been trying for about 30 years now to get a national ID card instead of just having a driver's license, so that, because not everybody gets a passport. You know, big percentage of Americans never travel outside the country.
Right.
So that's the closest we have to a national ID. So they want everybody to have a national ID. So I think that's what they're doing with this trusted traveler thing. You get a little star on your driver's license, and it means that you've been cleared by the federal government. But it also means now you're in their database. You probably were anyway, but it's a way of the government being able to track everybody's movements and what state they're living in and what countries they visit and so on. You know, it's just more and more, you know, privacy is just going to become a thing of the past. So got a little project going if everybody wants to get in it with me. I'm thinking of buying an island somewhere and setting up my own little nation. And we'll let Dwayne be the president. I want to be the commander-in-chief because I'm a Marine and, you know, I just like that sort of thing. So I'll be the one that defends it, and Dwayne he's a good administrator. He can run the country. So if anybody wants to join us, we'll call it, you know, Freedom Nation, and nobody will stick their nose in our business.
And we can broadcast live from there every day.
That'd be great.
Broadcasting live from Freedom Nation.
All right.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tom.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and appreciate
Got John
allowing me
in the
to-
wings here. I'm going to open up his mic, but if you want to hang out and talk with him for a bit, you're more than welcome to.
Well, I'll just say hi to him. How you doing, Brother John?
Hey, John, welcome to the show. All right, looks like he logged in, and let me jingle his phone number so he'll know we're ready for him.
Yeah, he's probably waiting for me to stop talking. This has been the most interesting week I think we've had in years. I mean, so much packed into it. Did you see how China has backed off? And they're going to cut in half without us doing anything. China is saying we're going to cut in half our duties on $75 billion worth of goods.
Really?
I think that's a combination of them realizing that they're not going to get anything over on Trump, and also because of their weakness, because of this virus, the coronavirus, it's going to hurt them a lot economically. So they're going to need our help. So they're cutting tariffs on U.S. stuff, hoping that we'll reciprocate and cut tariffs. So it's just been a jam-packed week. The State of the Union, President being acquitted, big movement on trade with China, because the tariffs don't do anybody any good. It's just a way of punishing another country and just creates ill will and so on. So I'd be glad to see totally free trade, except with countries that illegally the government supports private businesses and allows them to sell their goods at way lower prices and be non-competitive. I think we should have tariffs to punish countries that do that, and also countries that steal our intellectual property, like China's been doing. But if we can get past those things, I think a tariff-free world would be a great place.
For sure.
Let the market decide.
Let the market decide. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Welcome to the show.
No, I totally agree with what you were just saying there, Tom. Look, I mean, Trump's goal is to get rid of tariffs worldwide, and he might be able to pull it off in the next few years. So
that would be great. By the way, did you hear about Freedom Nation? Were you on when I was talking about that?
No.
Well, we're starting a little project. We're going to buy an island and just set up our own nation.
Whereabouts?
So well, I don't know, someplace warm.
I'm pretty good on islands. Give me a call sometime and I'll come up with some ideas.
Well, the idea is, no regulation, no taxes, no government snooping. So we were going to make Dwayne the president. I want to be the commander in chief because I was in the Marine Corps. I like shooting things. We were thinking about you as prime minister.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Very, very honored.
Okay, well, I'll get back with you with the details. I figured we'd take the U.S. Constitution and modify it for our needs a little bit, and we're good to go. We just have to find the right place.
Great. Speaking of prime ministers, did you hear this thing about David Cameron? His bodyguard left a gun and the former prime minister's passport in a toilet on a plane.
Kidding me.
Caused a bit of a stir.
There's one fired guy, right?
Yeah. So anyway, a few things.
Well, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and hop because I've got some things I'm going to do. But okay. Good talking to you, Tom.
Yeah, all the
Have
best.
a great day. God bless you.
Hey, thanks, Dr. Tom. Appreciate you popping on early, and we'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Okay.
Okay, there's some huge things going on today, Dwayne. First of all, you remember quite a while back, I had a $2,800 target on cocoa.
Mm-hmm.
We're $2,860 right now, and I think we're headed for all-time highs. We're going to test all-time highs up around $4,000 or $5,000 a ton. And it's interesting because guess when those highs were made? Back in the 70s, the last time gold ran up. So this is the beginning. Now, I would watch the coffee market very carefully because even though the coffee's down at the moment, the coffee and cocoa tend to go opposite. But I think we had I thought the coffee had bottomed, but this coffee is unbelievable. It's come right back down and tests, but it might double bottom here, or it might go lower. It's really in a big down move here. It's sort of just strange considering all the coffee that's drunk in the world, but that's where it is. But at some point, if you get a high in cocoa and you are looking for a low in coffee, and you might get an opposite type of a move. And it's very possible we haven't had a frost in Brazil for a long time, and it's quite possible we might get one this year, and that could change everything for coffee. Second thing is the palladium looks like it's topped out, at least for the time being. It's already put in a pretty dramatic top, and it's coming off pretty fast. On the other side, and then the platinum, boy, 1 minute it looks like it's going to the moon, and the next minute it's getting hammered again. I guess you'd have to say, right now, probably might consider going back long around 970 plus, or potentially above 980, but it doesn't look very good at the moment. On the other side is gold is creeping higher. We're only $30 away from 1,600. Thanks for putting up the silver. The silver to me looks like it's going to rip almost immediately. There was a headline yesterday that J.P. Morgan are being investigated criminal investigation for manipulating the metals markets. I think that's very bullish for the metals, because obviously if they've been manipulating the markets down, then they're an artificial price, and that price needs to be adjusted. So I think that it looks very bullish, this chart. I think it could just, one of these days, I hate to say it, but one of these days, and it might take a few months, with all this stuff going on in China. Did we talk about the headline in Tencent?
No.
Okay, Tencent is a website in China, has about 890 million viewers, almost the whole country. And somebody either deliberately leaked or whatever, but they said that there's 25,000 deaths and 154,000 infections as of yesterday. So that explains why there's panic over in China and all these cities are deserted. And, fortunately, there are fairly strong measures to contain it from getting overseas. But this is such a wicked thing that's going on that you just can't say if the same thing's going to happen here. And if it does, you might be going down, you might be looking out the window and there's no traffic or no activity. It's sort of hard to imagine, but it really could happen. So I think this market is living on borrowed time. It's getting manipulated right now. The VIXs today are acting a little bit stronger and more bullish than they have in the last few days. I think you've got the jobs number tomorrow, probably going to be an upside surprise. But how we normally when you have a strong afternoon rally on a Thursday, it means the jobs are going to come in strong. So that looks like the case. It could be a blowout number. It might be, who knows? It could be 300 plus, given the ADP. Might even be 400. But it's probably going to be, possibly a higher opening. But it's almost, worth risking a little bit to be short just in case, because if we sell off tomorrow and we have another 600 point down Friday, we could have then the following week might not be so pretty. Look, it's a very difficult thing because you never know if somebody's going to come out. I mean, there's been so much good news. This tariffs thing came right out of nowhere last night. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why we're higher today. The acquittal as well, certainly helping. And but there's other stuff that we don't know about just yet. So Twitter came out today. I think I mentioned Twitter recently. There was a pretty good buy, I thought. And it's about $4 higher right now, $4 or $5 higher. You remember I mentioned DGLY a while back?
DGLY, yes.
Yeah, look at that. Actually, this is very, very bullish because we've actually got an island bottom. Is that amazing or what? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 months island bottom, Dwayne. This is pretty historic, and I think it bodes pretty well for Twitter. So
what do you think is serving to turn them around?
Say again, sorry?
What do you think it's turning around?
They're kind of getting their act together. They, advertising, they're doing more, they're getting more revenues from advertising and generally tightening things up. But this was a big deal today. If you want to put up Royal Gold, RGLV.
Okay.
Honestly, I thought this stock was going to open higher today. Open down, so you can never. I thought it came out with some pretty good numbers, but it may be a bottom. It sort of tested here, and the gold is creeping higher, and as we looked at the silver, it looks like it's going to take off. That kind of a formation. If we have another up day, it actually could be a prelude to a pretty big run, $50 higher, maybe $50, $100 higher. I was going to say, you have to keep in mind with what happened with Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be open to the possibility you could come in one morning and find the Dow's down 1,000 points or more, and gold might be up 100. I think that's coming. I don't, obviously the way Tesla's acting today kind of looks like it's probably going to go up and test maybe 850, unless we have a bad day on Monday, in which case, it could be a lot different. But listen, I'm talking to some people, Tesla, they're kind of like demented. I said, did you sell up around 950 or, I think I called the guy and told him to sell. He said, no, it's going to 2,000. I said, for God's sake, you lost like 40% of your profit already, just in a couple of days by not being prudent, So but there was, look, this is only the first up move. So very extreme, but not, as I said yesterday or the day before, it could potentially go up to about 1,200, maybe even 1,500. But we are in this kind of a melt-up thing. You've got intervention going on, so it's kind of a. But look, this thing in China, yesterday there were 4,000 new infections and 80 new deaths, something like that. What's it going to be today? The official one. Is it going to be another 4,000? Is it going to be 5,000? Is it going to be like another 100 deaths? I mean, it's just terrible. But the real story is much more like this leaked information where, you really think the Chinese would have quarantined all these people if it was only the numbers so far, with the deaths. I mean, it's not much more than the flu kind of thing, but obviously this is a big deal. I would recommend, if this virus, look, you just don't know whether somebody in your street has been in China recently, or or somebody in a
that's
store,
true.
a 7-Eleven or something like that. I would
Or your
recommend as a
mailman.
minimum, I don't know whether people are wearing masks yet, but I recommend wearing surgical gloves anytime you go out, so that you're touching anything. It's not, so, and
Probably not a bad idea.
yeah, and look, Trump's been shaking hands with the Chinese. They're making this deal after this thing was already out of the bag. So you never know if some of those guys were infected. I mean, this is a really shocking situation. I think you have to. I mean, look, one of these days, this market is going to get the memo, and we saw one quick fall, and like I say, if somebody comes out with a cure for this thing over the weekend, the market's probably going to be higher on Monday. So it's not easy to trade from that standpoint. But what I'm doing here is, I'm trying to, just taking these. Look, it's just amazing. I mean, this morning, as an example, Apple opened. It opened down a little bit, and then it turned around, and it's heading back to the highs now pretty strongly. Adobe, same sort of thing. You got an actual buy on Tesla at 700 this morning. Got a seller around 780. It's about 760 right now. So there's a good trade. If the XLRN is running into trouble. INSM, I mentioned that one yesterday. Same thing. The RETA took a bit of a hit too. That was a real high flyer. LK, that coffee thing. I don't know what everybody's nuts about this coffee thing for. It's just like unbelievably hyped. I'd be pretty careful of that stock. Keys, which is one of these 5G stocks, is getting hit, and so is Corvo. So the one of the little problems today is while everything else is up, these semiconductors are negative. That's something to be careful of. I mentioned digital. Can you see what I mean about RETA? They go, and then when the music stops, you can really come under pressure. DGLY.
There we go.
Well, remember when I mentioned it when it was about $1?
Yeah.
It opened at $2, and I mean, listen. I'm kind of shocked that the stock got sold off like that, because the news was pretty enormous. But
what do these guys do?
Digital video and mobile video and stuff.
Okay.
Police video and things. I guess I think the chairman's the management's been there since 2005, and I think people are kind of frustrated, and that's probably why the selling came into that stock. But I think this deal is maybe a company maker for this company. But listen, I'm not in the stock. I don't own it or anything like that. I just wanted to mention. I think being pretty. Oh, by the way, Boeing. Put up Boeing. Boeing really took. Remember, I said to keep a buy stop a few dollars above Boeing and the price, because you never know when it's going to take off. And look at it. It's actually looking very dynamic, considering the trouble they're in, and compounded by this virus situation. So it's amazing that this stock is acting so well. Same with United Airlines, although that's down a little bit today. That's another thing. You might put up the transports, because transports might give you a little. See, United was up crazy yesterday, and now it's down. That kind of looks like that might get hit next week. The United, and if you can put up the transports, it's probably the same story. Yeah, I mean, not terminal yet, but if we gap down, it could be a problem. The financial is not doing too well either. Maybe you can put up JP Morgan, see what that looks like.
GPM.
Yeah, it's off a little bit today, but it's still acting pretty strong.
Yeah.
So
Not bad.
I guess we'll just have to see how things are. You know, we're just actually getting a little bit of a sell now on these markets. Although, you know, the rebound, these rebounds are, you know, every time we rebound, we seem to, or we get a turn, we seem to go for a bit of a rally. But you know, the fact that we're rallying or holding up this well going into the close is reasonably constructive right now. So, and if we sort of have a late rally, it probably strengthens the case that we're, you know, going to potentially have a good day tomorrow. Although once this news on the jobs comes out, you know, if we sold off on that could be a problem. So I think you got to be ready for that tomorrow. And you know, yesterday when as we said, the market didn't give you much time to get short at the beginning of the day. You know, it just happened right away. Today there was a little bit of time after the open, but the market since turned around. So by the way, the gold, and I on this work I'm doing, they kind of made over the last few days, they've kind of made a head and shoulders bottom reversal, both of them, the gold and silver, and it really looks like you probably want to be holding this stuff over, you know, going into tomorrow right now. Especially since Nugget is up $1. You might have a look at Nugget actually doing too. Yeah, you know, I think we can go to JNUG. Sure. I think JNUG is a little bit stronger. Yes, I mean, we mentioned that doji yesterday, right? Look at that double doji. I think that's a very, very significant potential bottom there. You know, it was long. It
looks ready to move higher.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, it actually could be. It could be a buying stampede higher, and that's kind of what I'm expecting. Is that something monumental is going to come out here soon, and it's going to cause this gold to explode in a way that we haven't seen, in all honesty. And you know, it's got the base, it's got the whole thing. It really looks potentially very bullish. Newmont is another one to take a look at.
There it is. It's on a daily.
Yeah, same thing. You know, I mean, remember, it's much stronger than the rest of the stocks. And did you look at cocoa? Did you look at cocoa?
No, we never did. I think it seemed like I was having a hard time bringing up a cocoa chart. Let's try it. There we go. Yeah, well, it's just I get end of day data. Is it higher today?
Yeah, can you put the weekly on that? Yeah, it's right up at that. Look at that chart. I mean, it's really potentially very, very bullish. Looks like it could go all the way to 3,400. So, you want to look at the TVIX?
TVIX.
Daily, I think. Yeah, you know, it's sort of coming. Look at what happened before. You know, you had this outside day and then a gap higher, and now you've got, you know, this not much going on here. It looks like a turn is at hand, And I would suggest to you the next up move is going to go much higher than the previous one. It's going to go up like to 75 or something like that, potentially, maybe even more. Gold.
Any word on the financials for Santa Fe?
Yeah, very close, put it that way. What was I going to say? There was something I wanted to watch. Oh yeah, dust. Can you look at dust? Yeah, obviously, Dwayne, this dust is in the same way that the gold's been going sideways and the silver's been doing the same. You know, this dust, this is why there's the potential for a monumental up move in the metals. As dust breaks down, starts hitting new lows. It could have a decline similar to what happened in June, you know, June, July, August, all the way down like that. And another leg down of major consequence. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to cover?
Apple, just take a look at Apple. Yeah. I mean, you know, either way, you know, the question is, you just don't know whether this thing is going to power on to new highs or whether it's going to have a kind of a double top experience here, you know, next day or two and then come off, you know, and it could actually, you know, I mean, look, in the same way as we had this leg down, you know, you could have another leg down maybe to 300 or maybe 290 perhaps, something like that. And then that would be a three waiver, and then we could have a kind of a parabolic up move after that. And Microsoft, MSFT. Yeah, it's a really very. I mean, this is the one of the kings of the boom, and it's still leading the way higher. Mm-hmm. ASML. Oh, look at that new record high today. Can you believe it? Cheapest. It's incredible. So, I haven't looked at Netflix for a while. Let's look at that one. Probably, you know.
Close that gap.
Yeah. Oh, Facebook. Let's have another look at Facebook, because it's actually been acting pretty well, in spite of the miss. Yeah. Probably. Okay. Google. I mean, this thing missed, right? Look at the way it came back. Jeepers, this is really, really strong.
How big was the miss?
Stock. Well, it was knocked it down about $60.
So now it's bouncing right back. Bouncing right back.
Yep.
Okay, John.
So, mic dropped out. So listen, thank you very much for the invite, and
thank you. Appreciate you coming
afternoon.
on. You do the same. We'll talk to you tomorrow, same time.
Okay, all the best. Bye.
Thank you. Guys, that's going to wrap it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.
It is John. Yeah, he called me on, unfortunately, he called me on my mobile, which was